And there are ample, largely published papers by the Indian Institute of Soil Science, by ICAR, including in partnership with IZA, that's the International Zinc Association, which are clearly saying that there is an imbalance practice of fertilization or nutrient application in agriculture, which is driving malnutrition in the human population, in the animal population, and not even making these nutrients available to the plants naturally, because if they're not being made available to the plants, they're not going to land up on your plate. So there's this big disconnect, and this imbalance practice is driving this. It not only says that, it says that the imbalance practice is also contributing to environmental issues, including degraded soils. It's also contributing to the emissions which contribute to climate change. So the very practice of growing your crops is actually contributing to climate change. 14% of the emissions that contribute to greenhouse gases come from agriculture, right? And synthetic fertilizers, that is the urea and the DAP, contribute towards that. The country consumes 2 crore tons of urea as a fertilizer and about 90 lakh tons of DAP as a fertilizer. If you look at the zinc deficiency in the country, which Dr. Das pointed out, about 60% to 80% of the soils are reported deficient. The country consumes only 2 lakh tons of zinc sulfate. That is equivalent to treating, let's say, 44 million hectares of just paddy, not the other crops, right? So you're not even treated a tenth of the country, or so to speak, right? So on the one side you have an imbalanced practice, on the other side you have soil deficiencies which are not getting addressed because there is an imbalance in application. And therefore the way we farm has a direct impact on the final quality of the food that we are producing. There's a bioavailability issue at the soil level. So it's reported that the excess fertilizer, which is urea in particular, actually reduces the amount of calcium and magnesium ions in the soil when the plants are trying to absorb it at the root level. Similarly, phosphorus is known to be antagonistic to the uptake of zinc and iron, right? You've got an excess of phosphorus today in the soil, which is locked. It's applied as a nutrient for getting the yield, but it's not making available zinc and iron, which are your essential nutrients. So you've got a practice which is actually inhibiting the uptake of zinc and iron. So that's the availability at the soil level. Now let's say you've applied excess of these nutrients to get a yield because the farmer wants to secure his yield. You've got a crop which is not only deficient in these nutrients, but is richer in phytate, which is again an anti-nutrient to making zinc and iron available in the human gut. So all the efforts of fortifying the cereal, or any crops for that matter, are, I should say, compromised because you've got anti-nutrients in the agricultural practice which are not enabling the availability of the nutrients at the human level. So it's become a very complex subject. There are other crop protection practices that go on in agriculture and have been going on for years. And as a result of which, even the food today in the US is depleted. So let's say if you're talking about fruits, we are saying that we have access to fruits, but they're not rich anymore. What Sadhguru is saying, that the soil saves soil, and the citrus that was available in the 1950s carried more nutrients, is not carrying it, is for this precise reason, right? So the availability that comes across there. So that's the other part. And so one is the subsidy, which is largely incentivizing, so to speak, global warming, climate change in that sense, right? Imbalanced nutrient and reduced uptake of nutrients in the crop, and not giving you a healthy crop. In fact, if you look at the consumption data, NPK consumption has gone up in the country by about 12.5 times. These are statistics from the FAO. But food grain productivity has gone up only about 2.5 times. Right? So you're not getting a proportionate yield increase for the nutrient which is being applied, and you're spending all this money on that as a subsidy. And on the other side, you're spending 4,000 crores on malnutrition, so to speak. So this is the big economic policy debate that we can have as to how can you actually incentivize nutritional farming.